accept it, lose yourself and be a ruh. And you live the now forever. It is to live it rather than just talk about it, preach it, teach it. But the truth is that there is only divinity, there is only Allah. And these are manifestations of that cosmic, eternal, boundless light. Is my doing. I have to get down into that well which I filled with rubbish to take this stuff out. But I put in my heart all kinds of attachments, desires. Will they acknowledge me? Will I be a great teacher? Will I be considered enlightened? That we have been given a treasure beyond measure, and that's the ruh. Be respectful to the ruh. That's the door to haqq. The woman does the whole thing, and the man struts around walking, yes, they are my children. How many nappies have you changed? How many nights did you stay awake? We are still suffering immensely from hypocrisy and riya. I see myself this, I see. Hub is the ultimate pinnacle of connectedness. The whole story of creation is about connection and continuation. What is the khairul amal? That you are doing it for its own sake. It's come to you by haqq, it's driven by haqq. There's no effort from you. There is no you in it. You know, as you know, this quest for knowledge can be the way to hell. The love of Quran, the chasing of the Quran, the recitation of Quran can also be the way to your hell. Enter into that silence of inner light, no outer light, and you'll get replenished. Look at the sickness we have. Mental illness nowadays is going to dominate. People are sick at every level. There is only Allah, not I and Allah. Oh Allah, this is all shirk. It's not a bad shirk, but it is shirk. إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا. إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به. That means you are structurally need to be readjusted now. It needs honesty, suffering, and a bit of a reflection of a light that had already gone through that journey. كل يعمل على شاكلته. It's different flavors, different time. Each one of us is living in a zone of uncertainty. This is what the world is. And each one of us wants certainty. That quality of certainty belongs to the ruh. But I found in the Vedantas great reflections of the Quran. And I came to know that there were few people, great Muslims in India, who did that comparison between the Vedas and the Quran. I don't think, we have been trained in the last few decades of trying to be precise. And we are losing joyfulness of life precisely. The ultimate test in terms of discipline is to have a clear mind, pure heart, no anger, no rancor, no hatred, and the other one is willingness cheerfully to leave your body and mind as a ruh.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نرحب بكم في سلسلة حوارات فكرية ومعرفية على قناة حيرة. Today we are interviewing Sheikh Fadlullah Al-Ha'iri. Sheikh Fadlullah was born in Iraq in the holy city of Karbala in 1937 in a family of religious scholars. He also educated in Europe, lived in the US, and worked for many years in the oil industry. And he's a scholar in Islamic knowledge, mysticism, Sufism, and the spiritual dimension of Islam. He traveled through a long journey to find truth, wisdom, true self, combining between the West and East, discovering the links between ancient wisdom and Islamic heritage. He's been the teacher of students and spiritual seekers for more than 30 years from all around the world. He's talking to us from South Africa, the place where he lives now since 20 years. He's also the author for more than 30 books, such as The Sayings and Wisdom of Imam Ali, The Lantern of the Path, which is a translation of Imam al-Sadiq book Misbahul Sharia, and Sufi Encounters, sharing the wisdom of enlightened Sufis, and the Hikam, the wisdom of Ibn Ata'ullah al-Sikandari, and calling Allah by his most beautiful names, and Son of Karbala, the spiritual journey of an Iraqi Muslim. He has also several books regarding Quran and Tafsir and Ta'wil and selected verses from the Quran. Welcome, Shaykh. Assalamu alaikum. It's an honor having you with us today, and thank you for offering this opportunity.
Marhaba.
In the beginning, Shaykh, tell us more about yourself, your spiritual and knowledge journey in life, your special interest and dedication to Sufi, Irfani, spiritual dimensions of Islam, and what you find fascinating and attracting in this heritage, where you spend months, years, decades in exploring and discovering the beauties and mysteries of Islamic Sufism, Irfan, and spirituality.
We naturally respect the path we are in, but my interest from childhood had been to be in a state where there are no serious fears, sorrows, and regrets. That was really my main interest, not the path. To be in a state that is wholesome, irrespective of the outer circumstance. This has really been the driving force in my life. And the ultimate fuel for that was from the Quran. And the embellishments and the encouragements and the, if you like, detailed guidance had come from the prophetic knowledges and all of the other pools of wisdom, as you also mentioned. Later on are the Sufis and the others, Ahl al-Arfan. These are all names. What had really been the driving force in my life is to be in a state that has no fears, no sorrow, no regrets, no guilt, presence, hudur. And I discovered also that to be in the now, you are connected with that which is absolute. Each one of us as human beings are connected with the absolute. The entire issue of life emanates from the life giver, from Allah. So life is the link we have to the absolute, to the eternal. And the ladder that takes us to that precinct is that of excluding all other distractions and noises. Khalis, mukhallas, khulus, that's it. So the whole thing is about ikhlas. And that is Bab al-Khalas and Dar al-Khalas. And we sometimes hit it and miss it and get in it and lose it. And then we teach and preach. And also there are all of these human natural tendencies which are perfectly designed by Allah, in a sense that you think you are a good teacher, you are doing good, you are being useful, you are helpful, you are a mukhlis, you are a wali, all of these things. And then again, you are put back into the bereftness and the darkness of the ego self. This is again Allah's rahmah. Suddenly you find, oh my God, what was I doing? I was full of myself. This is called riya in the Quran also. We're all subject to the same patterns according to the courage we have, to the loyalty we have to haqq, to the honesty we have. And so I am too. One part of me is a human biographical evolutionary entity which has come over billions of years, given life by a source that is not subject to space and time. So I am a nafs and a ruh. ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها. That's what the nafs is, fajr, and the taqwa emanates from the ruh. So I have to reconcile these two. That's it. I have to rest, I have to sleep, I have to be healthy, I have to be patient, I have to be impatient, all of them. And at the same time, constant referencing to the timelessness. إنك لا تهدي من أحببت إن الله يهدي من يشاء. They have to be able to take whatever is connectedly possible with them, to them at that time. That's all. You may have heard something many years ago, and then suddenly 20 years later it dawns upon you, subhanallah. I've heard this so many times, but now it has unified with me. It is now in me. I am in it. I am with it. It's all about Tawheed. So, you know, this all emanates from the one, bifurcates into jungles and forests of dualities, returns back to the one. So that's why. It's one, and multitudes, emanating from the one, acknowledging the one, returning to the one. That's all. It's a universal path. And I think more and more people will discover for themselves it is to live it rather than to just talk about it, preach it, teach it. That's also good. But to live it, you know, there is only one. You are present. لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Then you are touching humanity because this is your cloak and dress on earth. But the truth is that there is only divinity. There is only Allah. And these are manifestations of that cosmic, eternal, boundless light appearing here, there, up, down, all of the other things that exist. It's magnificent.
إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون ليس في الدار غيره ديار. So everything is he. But Sheikh, so how can a person get rid from his egoistic self, and because he's filled with his the ego desires that he lives with, and try to reach to the not hal but maqam, because spirituality in the life of the Muslim or a seeker of spirituality is only bits and pieces. It comes and goes. It's maybe when I'm reading the dua, or when I'm praying, or when I'm doing good acts or something, but it doesn't reach me to a maqam, to a state of tama'nina or sakina, or very high states which Urafat talks about. So is it attainable to reach to fana and kamal al-inqita' and or sakina, or all these manazil that the Sufi masters talk about, or no, it's something very high?
Why do you start eating as a hungry person? Why do you continue eating the next spoon? Because of hope. You think that a time will come that you will be satiated, you will be fulfilled. But whilst you are eating, concentrate on that, enjoy the taste, enjoy all of the other aromas, and. Otherwise, whilst you are eating, you're all the time, you know, philosophizing, will I ever get fulfilled and finished and content? Will I ever get the right nourishment of the food? It's endless, you know. So what you're talking about, is it attainable or not? It's the only true source from which life emanates. So I am at this moment struggling to put my life in a better order. So how can I discuss, how is it discussable as to, is pure life, eternal life, perfect life, divine life, attainable. That's all what there is. It's not a question of is it attainable or not. I have to help in participating a bit in removing the distractions, the precipitations, the junk that I put in my head and in my heart. It's my doing. I have to get down into that well, which I filled with rubbish, to take this stuff out. That was already there. It was already pure. It was already full. The mind is always ready. The heart is effulgent, is divine, because there is a ruh in it. So it is sacred. But I put in my heart all kinds of attachments, desires. Will they acknowledge me? Will I be a great teacher? Will I be considered enlightened and acknowledged and self-realized? All of these funny terms. We have to wait a few generations for all of this debris to go away. And then you find, Kan Allah wa baqi Allah, and you are here by virtue of that, be in gratitude and disappear. Ba'a nafsahu lillah. That's all what it is. We have emerged after thousands of years where the deen had helped human beings to behave as better human beings. Don't do that. Don't be correct. Be honest. Don't cheat. So that the mind is clear and the heart is not full of pus and regrets. So that you're present. If you're present, khalas, that's all what you can do in this world. And occasionally, if as a true loyal being to ruh, to life emanating from the ruh, you also may suddenly run from the danger that is going to kill you. Because for a while, you are a custodian of a ruh. The mouse is a custodian of the ruh, and it always runs and hides, keeps it as a secret, because otherwise some other predator will eat it. So this is the whole story. We are all arwah, but we have emerged from an evolutionary path of thousands of years where we say me, my tribe, my religion, all of that. But I think now we're entering into a global scene of realizing that we have been given a treasure beyond measure, and that's the ruh. Be respectful to the ruh. That's the door to haqq. That's the doorway, the pathway to the only reality, to the truth itself. So you are aware that you can't lie anymore. Who are you lying to? أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. So you can't do it anymore. So you have saved yourself from your ego self. Good luck. That's a good thing. It's a necessary step. It's not a big thing. It's essential. It's beginning. I think few more generations and you find people from all over the world. People are not desperate in being scared, anxious about their livelihood, about supper, or about a bit of a sanctuary. They have taken it for granted. It's easy. I know I have enough skills for 1 month's work. I can earn enough to be alive, to be well clothed and sheltered. It's coming now. I already see many, many young people without having been subjected to all kinds of the theological rigors which were necessary until a short while ago. But now it's imbibed. Say, look here, are you able to sit for 5 minutes with no thought? So actually, this has saved me a lot of trouble with people because you get contact. So they say, we'd love to come and see you. We'd like to connect with you. We'd like to have a Zoom. I say, fine. Only after you have been able to have 5 minutes, absolutely no thought. Then connect. That's why I've got all the time in the world. Because that filter, I tell you, is the biggest gift for me. And I mean it. You know, if you can't stop still, if you can't empty your mind, then who are you? What sort of a discipline do you have? Allah's rahmah is beyond us. Allah's gifts are countless, as wide as the cosmos, boundless. That is the glory of it. But you have to discard all of these other things. It's good to have quality teaching, narrow path, accountability to people whom you respect and trust. Good. Until a time comes that you lose all of that, because they were all little indicators on the path. The path is like a ladder that you're climbing on a skyscraper on this earth, because we are all love to have this status. It's the tallest building. So once you reach the top, there's a roof garden. And that's it. You no longer talk about the ladder. You thank the ladder, you touch it, say thank you very much, goodbye. That's it.
Sheikh, and as the ayah says, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الروح قُلِ الروح مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي, or the other ayah, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ روحي. Also we have in the hadith that الأرواح جنود مجندة فما تعارف منها ائتلف. It's a very great hadith about ruh and love, and how the arwah of mu'mineen love each other, and how you find a person and you feel very close to him. That's because the other life. But the question here, Sheikh, that many mu'mineen, they worship God based on fear and hope, al-khawf and al-raja. Whereas when we read the Sufi and the Irfani books, especially the Sufi literature and poetry, we find a main theme which all the other terminologies are centralized on, which is love and divine love and محبة الإلهية ويحبهم ويحبونه. So why love is very centralized there, and how can we worship not from the fear and khawf and raja, and we come to this area of love?
We must make a big allowance to the issue of evolution. Human beings now are very different to what they were 3,000 years ago. You find most people who are serious about religion, theology, and so on, don't give this issue enough importance. 2,000 years ago, most women were regarded as a means for the continuation of the human race. In the last 50 odd years, we have been enriched in this world by the emergence of a woman as another ruh with a slightly different flavor in her outer state, or in her body, or in her mind. Didn't exist. The world now is in a much better state because women are involved in management, in organizing, in administration, and so on and so on and so on. The men who have been for hundreds of years being abusive of their patriarchal state are scared of this. That's okay. Suddenly their power is gone, especially in the poorer countries. The woman does the whole thing and the man struts around walking, yes, they are my children. How many nappies have you changed? How many nights did you stay awake? They are my children, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, mashallah. We are still suffering immensely from hypocrisy and riya. I see myself this. So khawf and raja have been the two sides of hundreds of similar issues. Secure, insecure, certain, uncertain, acceptable, rejectable. Hundreds of dualities that balance life. Now, for hundreds, thousands of years, it was mostly khawf. Uncouth still is very primitive, very base, so a lot of that. Khawf, I'll punish you if you don't do it. They'll do it. So only the other day, less than 80, 90 years ago, over 2 million people in Africa, in the Congo, were killed as punishment in front of others. Over 2 million. Now look at it now. It is raja now. It is hope. It's instead of fear and punishment is hope and love. Because we have no fear of the next meal. You go to any of the cities, you find the dustbins can feed 10 million people. We are wasteful people now. We have swung to the other side. Utter wastefulness. We are creating destitution not due to shortage, due to increase of wealth, power, and all of that, which we'll have to adjust. And I think by suffering, these things will be balanced. So we move from khawf and punishment to hope and love and raja as such. So that is far more dominant. That's why grandparents have great difficulty in relating to the children. Children don't respond to them. So what is this all nar, jahannam. It is there, but there are more and more small jahannams now around us. I saw this car and I want it. So for 10 years I'm saving and so on. By the time I'm ready to have it, the car has been withdrawn because they found so many technical, electronic fault, whatever, is no longer available. What? Or it has been superseded. Times change. If you are truly on the path of the now, of presence, Hadrat al-Rabbaniyah, then you accept change, including that the air, the breath goes in, may not come out. Are you as cheerful? If you are not, then you have a question mark about the path of the Creator. Are you as cheerful about leaving your body as a ruh, or as when you are here, they're talking to you and respecting? If you're not, then you have work to do. So it is qul, as you have it behind you, but then i'mal, and then kun. The noon of the kun, that is your qalb. Allah.
But Sheikh, talking also about the path of love, دين الحب, or as Ibn Arabi says, أدين بدين الحب أن توجهت ركائبه. So is it specified only for awliya and great masters and urafa and
no, everyone.
أشد حبا لله, or only also ordinary mu'min people, they can follow this path and go through it?
Everyone is universal. There cannot be hub without a trace, it may be tiny, of kurh. Not possible. There cannot be attraction without a speck of rejection. No way. They go together, but one of them dominates. So hub becomes, it's not in my hand. Hub is the ultimate pinnacle of connectedness. The whole story of creation is about connection and continuation. Continuation is forever. And hub is the pinnacle of connectedness. That's why when there is hub, the two people pretend that, I cannot be separate from you. Oh, I really feel this wonderful. You and I are inseparable. So they hug. And if they stay together for a few times, it's wonderful we are together. Then another entity comes about. Wow, crying, demanding, and turns out to be a tyrant. For the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years, by God, if there's a boy, you don't know, if there's a girl, but it was a result of hub. What sort of a hub is that? Hub implies the ultimate unifying field. That's all. And also going back to these great awliyas, which is wonderful. If it is academic, I think it's great. But other than that, why look back? Why not look front? I'm astonished as all of these people constantly quoting a Sufi here and a Sufi there. And thank God we have 2 ears. In my case, most of the time the one goes in, out. What for? What about the now? What about tomorrow? It must be in every way carrying the characteristics of now, and better because I've learned not to be distracted. So I've seen that before. Another cause of distraction to test me How loyal am I to the now? Isn't that wonderful? It's all of it about action, action, action. So as أحسنكم خير عملا. What is the خير العمل? That you are doing it for its own sake. It's come to you by haqq. It's driven by haqq. There's no effort from you. There is no you in it. The you is إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا. That's it.
And Sheikh, also you talk about the living the now and living the presence and الحضور or الحضور في المحضر الإلهي والاستشعار, as we say in Arabic, شعور يعني. So and if we see some of the books like منازل السائرين, and you know it for Ansari, and so you find 100 different emotion and feeling of the mu'min heart. So it's not only about رجاء, خوف, حب. So it's maybe طمأنينة, خضوع, خشوع, إخبات. So there are many different. So is it a type of different kinds of emotions and feelings that a mu'min should strengthen his iman with throughout different challenges he faces, or what is it?
They are useful. All of this, especially Manazil Sarin, as you mentioned, and other books like that, they're all immensely helpful. But helpful in the sense that you take it in your stride and you move on. You don't remain on the ladder and look down and say, oh, there were all of these 90 steps before I have moved, and you begin to glorify yourself, and of course you'll fall down, quite rightly, and die. That's the quickest. They're useful. Kindergarten is necessary. Intermediate schooling is necessary. Completion is necessary. 1,000 PhDs may be also useful. But be careful, because by then you need to live until 500 years. No point. Accept it. Lose yourself and be a ruh. And you live the now forever. That's all. So otherwise you live the teaching as though it is reality itself. It's not. It's an indicator. So a time comes, you say, yes, I know. All of these things are familiar to me, but I don't know them anymore. Good. Don't know anything. You know, as you know, this quest for knowledge can be the way to hell. Really. I never forget a beautiful short teaching from Imam Khomeini. He says, the love of Quran, the chasing of the Quran, the recitation of Quran can also be the way to your hell. So watch out. It's, you make
الحجاب
it
الأكبر, or what he calls يصبح العلم الحجاب الأكبر.
Exactly. So watch out. These are different flavors of a magnificent banquet. Take what is needed for you that day and the next day and move on and enter into the silent Kaaba of your heart, where there is nothing to discern. Of course, now they filled it up with other things, but that's it. Enter into that silence of inner light, no outer light, and you'll get replenished. Look at the sickness we have. Mental illness nowadays is going to dominate. People are sick at every level. Physically, they are not, as they are living longer. Chemically, biologically, physiologically. But mentally, wait for the sickness to see. It's not going to work by psychiatric dumping of some stuff on the person. You have to empty yourself. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. You have to empty out first. Even your desires for all that should stop. It's fine, desire for money, position, political power. It goes more and more until desire for until it becomes desire to do a good salat, to lose yourself in your prostration. That's good. But that also has to evaporate. الذين هم في صلاتهم دائمون. This is what will come. Otherwise, I want to do better salat, better becomes yet another competition. And if you're a bit wise, you say, no, it's cooperation, all that rubbish. Nonsense. You have to be able to transcend a clear mind to a pure heart and enjoy it now. you can then enter into both visible and invisible Jannah. Because they say those people have already done it. هذا ما أوتينا من قبل. We have already experienced it. ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا. It has to be real for you. But not a bad idea if you truly have, if you're fortunate to have a being who is at that stage without denying the worldly presence, without denying dunya, then it's a good mirror. It's a mirror. That's all. You have to do it. إنك لا تهدي من أحببت. خلاص, that's it. So it goes
we
beyond
have this
compassion.
wisdom that says ليس العلم في السماء حتى يطلب ولا في الأرض ولكن هو في قلوبكم تخلقوا بأخلاق الربانيين يظهر وينكشف لكم. Also some scholars when they talk about مقام الأمية, so they say why the Nabi was ummi. So while he was empty of all these types of materialistic knowledge or the knowledge that was spread all among people and he became ummi, then he reached to the state of hudur that you're talking about.
Most of my life I've collected books. Since I traveled a lot, some of the books that I really loved and wanted, I had many copies of. So one in the States, one in England, one. So I ended up with a lot of books. The last 15, 20 years, my exercise now, my challenge is to get rid of all of these books. Some of them I treasure, but I don't need them. Where do I put them? Who's going to read them? Really, if you want, I can send you easily 5,000, especially in Arabic, including those that you mentioned of different people like Ibn Arabis and other and Jili, and please take them. Not that they are burden on me, but I have a respect for the inner light, and there are no people who want it. See, all what they want now is power, and power manifested in the abstract, modern way of money. So it's all about that now. And I don't deny it. I don't think good luck to them. People get exactly what they deserve, And I'm also very fortunate that I'm at a stage in my life, I don't chase for money, but it comes to me from my people around me. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's it. You have to be real for where you are, where Allah has put you.
Sheikh, there is a great wisdom. It may be a hadith also, which says الطرق إلى الله بعدد أنفاس الخلائق. The paths towards God as many human breaths.
Correct.
So, and there is many interpretations of this hadith, and then the modern academic people will talk about the topic of religious pluralism and the different ways to reach towards God, and the perennial school has. So I'm not bothered with all these theories, but I want to know from you and hear from your wisdom. So how you understand and interpret this hadith, الطرق إلى الله بعدد أنفاس الخلائق. No matter what this خلائق was and where he was born and what his religion is. And
for me, it means go beyond the tariq, go to the destiny. Tariq leads to where? Allah. So, كان الله ولم يكن شيئا معه وهو كما كان. That's it. There is only Allah. As many things as you can imagine is from Allah. Your imagination is designed by Al-Musawwir, Al-Khaliq, Al-Bari. There is only Allah. That's what it means. It's not about numbers. We are all caught in the web of Allah. The entire cosmos. That is it. That is the kun fayakun. That is the so-called the Big Bang or the initiation of life. That's it. Life is the manifestation of the life giver. That's all. Of course, all of it. There is only Allah, not I and Allah. Oh, Allah. This is all shirk. It's not a bad shirk, but it is shirk. إن الله لا يغفر إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به. That means you are structurally need to be readjusted now. Really, I talked to Allah and he didn't answer me. Eventually, when he answered, he said, yes, you can live longer, but no coffee, no music, no perfume. I said, no, thank you. Oh, we must realize that this being, human being, is the outer manifestation of a divine radiation called Ruh, and its anwar are transmitted from the qalb. That's why it has to be qalbun salim. Otherwise, it gets tarnished. It justifies what it does. The ultimate dictator killed families, thousands, justifies it. I'm Allah's agent. Careful. Allah doesn't need such agencies. Allah created to be loved, to be known, to be unified, to be lost to everything other than Allah. That's it. Simple. Doesn't need Sufis, doesn't need this, that. It needs honesty, suffering, and a bit of a reflection of a light that had already gone through that journey. That's all.
Sheikh, I'll ask you about the qalb al-salim and its relation to different emotions and feelings, because they also talk about a'mal al-qulub, not only a'mal al-jawarih wal-abdan. So how this qalb al-salim can react with different creatures, with the nature also, with different friends, with sympathy, empathy, purity, sincerity, all these kind of virtues and nice emotions. So the question is the relation between qalb al-salim and different kinds of emotions that a mu'min should embody and feel and live with.
You must realize the two: head, which is the center of emotions, and connecting the ruh with dunya, that's head. And within it, there is aql, there is all that. The emotions are there. Qalb is the source of the power of life. So, qalbun salim, meaning none of these things that you loved. It's not against the love of things, a beautiful place, a beautiful woman, or food, or love it. But don't put it in your heart that it becomes the veil upon your heart. Enjoy it at that moment. Enjoy it as though it's the only thing you are enjoying. Enjoy it as though this is maximum. Fine. But when it is gone, it's gone. Finished. Leave it. That's it. So it's like the story of the fellow they crossed the river and there was a woman washing clothes and so on, and she was semi-naked. So at that night when they were resting, the student looked at his teacher and said, "Look here, we crossed and there was a woman there who was naked. So I saw her." So the teacher said that I also saw her, but I left her where she was. You were carrying her all the time with you to here. So be careful. Enjoy it. Be with it and leave it. That's what I said. Live the moment. That's hudur. That's hadrat al-Rabbaniyya. It's gone. No longer there.
So don't stay there. Don't stick to it. لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم. So go on. You mean go on.
ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم. Also, yes. Be in the now. This is what's going to come in the future now. It's not 20 Hajj and 50. That may be not a bad idea either earlier on. But the time comes now. I'm not the same as I was last year. You are doing something that is incorrect. You've gone to the qabr of last year and you have dug the bones. This is makruh, if not haram. Don't do it. That's it. It's adab at every level. Adab towards the ultimate treasure of all treasures, which is being alive. Be careful. Your life on earth is short, preparing you for life that is eternal after you leave your body and mind. That's all. Simple. You are here to be prepared cheerfully, joyfully, knowingly. You say, thank you very much. I am now being liberated from the incumbencies of mind, body, emotions, biography, all of that. That's it.
It's not about filling the ibadah or worship or adhkar or ibadat with quantity. It's more about it's more about quality that becomes higher and purified and better with the quantities that you're doing. So you should focus on the quality that comes with these quantities. Otherwise, you will be
yes, even quality have to disappear. It has to take you somewhere. It's balance, and then beyond it, firru ilallah. Otherwise, it becomes all preaching. That not a bad thing, but it is like lighting a candle, others may see it and benefit, and you're burning. What about you? What about you? So there are a lot of stories also about the Sufis that Imam Ghazali, he was so emphatic with his books, and he decided to escape, whatever, and he had 2 mules. Benefit from it at the time you're benefiting from. Others will come and may benefit as much, more, or whatever, or a slightly different way. كل يعمل على شاكلته. There's different flavors, different time. Now they are used to global connectedness electronically, instantly. You have come from 2 generations ago, it would take 6 months for communication from where I'm sitting now to Europe, for example. Times have changed. So you also need to be optimistic in that now you can quicker evolve. Stop it. Stop thinking. And I wouldn't be surprised if there will be some apps that will help you to stop your mind without drugs, without alcohol. Really stop it and refresh and come back. Look, you are here, present. Who is the you? Oh, you are only the biography? No, there's something else. What is the source of life? So we give it a name. Ruh, soul.
Fitra or something.
There are names, Baba. Two. There is the higher cosmic min Allah, and the other one is evolved over billions of years, the animal. That's it.
Sheikh, if you allow me just to go back a little bit in your life, in the era of childhood, because you were born and stayed maybe for more than 20 years in Karbala, the holy city of Karbala. So how the atmosphere there, especially the religious family being close to the holy shrine of Imam Hussein, so how it affected your personality back then, and so how did it shape your religious and spiritual understanding to religion and philosophy, and maybe it's also affected your goals and ambitions that you followed later on in your life?
I was very fortunate in coming from several generations ago of ulamas who were truly muwahhids. They were not concerned about big publicity and so on, although one of them became exceptionally famous. His name was Sheikh Zain Abidin. And it was 1880, I think. He moved from Najaf to Karbala. Anyway, at that time, he was immensely powerful, more than just also the Shias. Anyway, so I grew up in an ambience of goodness, correctness, fairness, modesty, but equally very rich. I remember as a kid, no day will pass unless there would be 2, 3, sometimes 10 porters bringing some food to the house from some other place, some other house, some other, and then a message comes that, look, we had this wonderful fish brought to us, we couldn't eat it all, we had to send you, and so on and so on. So I grew up in an ambience which was exceptionally pleasant, gentle, but clear. If there was somebody poor knocking at the door, I remember as a kid, we young ones would rush with our plate to give it to him, knowing also very well that when we come back, we'll be given even better, or whatever, what was on the plate. So it was an ambience of correctness, accountability. I've never heard in that house a scream or a shout or discourtesy. I really mean it, not once. The women were truly respected. Servant women, we had quite a few of them, because from Iran and elsewhere, if they needed to also go to Karbala, whatever, they often would be given the address. So there were quite a number of elderly women coming to spend the last few years of their life in Karbala. So there were several of them cleaning the vegetables. But every day, 1 or 2 donkeys will come from our orchard, which is not that far, carrying fresh stuff. It was, as a child, I was happy, content, running around, jumping on the nannies' heads and And I remember even as a 5, 6, 7, can't remember exactly the age, that one day I didn't hear them doing salat. So I came, they were already doing salat. I really remember clearly I was weeping. Why didn't they call me? Without anybody telling me, it was natural. And I suddenly was flung into the West to study. I mean, I still carry the scars of that shock. As I'm talking to you now about, if I faint, don't be surprised. So I grew up in an ambience that was exceptionally unique. And during Muharram and Ashura and so on, a week or 10 days, we wouldn't go out of the house. There were several houses, there were 6 or 7, all connected. So it was like a little village inside Karbala, right at the door of Bab al-Zainabiyya. We had the same doorway. So I grew up in an ambience of living accountable, cheerful Muslims. So therefore, later on, I was really shocked about jihadi, this, jihadi. I didn't understand what these things are. Really. And there would often be visitors, Sufis and others, and so on. I took it for granted. That's why later on, when I met some of the Sufis and so on, I was not in awe of anyone. So fine, great. I remember there was a person who lived on 1 almond a day. And he would go to the door, from immediately our door to the Bab Zainabiyya, and we'll stand on one leg reciting admiration and love for Imam Hussein. So this for me was not surprising. So when some of the shuyukh came, I said, all right, so what? Good luck to him. Good, that's good. No more.
Unfortunately, now we're living an era of sectarianism and boundaries between different madhahibs and like categorizing people of the Muslimin, and so it's a different era now, unfortunately.
It will change. Eventually, it is personal benefit to supersede all of that. All right, I've changed madhab, I changed religion, I changed house, I changed wife. Now what? I want to be content in a smooth, constant way. Each one of us is living in a zone of uncertainty. That's what the world is. And each one of us wants certainty. That quality of certainty belongs to the Ruh. Be the Ruh and you will not ask about certainty. Be the Nafs and you're suffering from all of the anxieties, stresses, depressions.
Although Arafat talk about Hira, so what's the relation between Yaqeen and Hira? Because you certainty.
No, it's good to be in Hira. Hira is intelligent. Uncertainty is intelligent. But then, as you know, the hadith, if it is halal, clear, you have a choice, do it. Say Bismillah. If it is not gray, be cautious. Don't do it. I am in Hira all the time. My name is Hairi. So what? Be in Hira. What's wrong with that? This dunya is Hira, between the absolute, infinite, boundless, and the beginning and the end, birth and death. No, but then once you accept it, then it's not there anymore. So when you talk about Hira, I don't know what you're talking about. What Hira? Do what you can at that moment and khalas. Be honest. Don't constantly look back at the past, nor be concerned and anxious about the future. If you are in the now, you are with the nur of haqq. Khalas.
Sheikh, I'll ask you more about the era of childhood. There was a person mentioned in your life. His name was Hadi Ha'iri. He's the greatest authority on Rumi on his day.
Correct.
He was like your uncle and one of your important teachers in Sufi literature and poetry. So if you recall something about him and how you loved
I remember his living somewhere north of Tehran, and he was a favorite cousin or what other relationship with my father. I think he was a first cousin. And there were quite a number of people like him within the family. Not always the same name, Ha'iri. They were names of Tajaddud. There was a name of Rahnama. They were all cousins of the same family. Because some of them were in situations, difficult situations, with the different changing royal families. No, the extended family was very much into irfan, into anwar, into courtesies, and also in Sharia. They were very much, many of them, masters of Sharia. One of my father's uncles was called Sheikh al-Iraqain. And in his time, he had immense following in both Iraq and Iraq, both in the Iraqi Arab side. And so they were, so as I said, for me, I grew up in an ambience of service, honesty, humility,
Well, what about
correctness.
the Sufi poetry and the Rumi? Because he mentioned.
Yes.
So you were taught these stuff at that
I
age?
enjoyed some of them. I never went that line. I never went that deeply into it. I really went into disappearing in sajda. That really was, I feel like, my key thing. To lose myself, completely to anything. No mind. And the ruh is ever alive. And it will guide me. And after a while you get tired or you get hungry. I trusted. Do my best accountably. No hidden things right now.
But maybe
And
that time
trust
also, Sheikh, I don't know about Karbala, but Najaf also was full of great masters in spirituality and
Of
Irfan, like
course.
such as Sayyid Ali al-Qadi, Ahmed al-Karbala'i, and
Correct.
Kashani, and many others who are very great in the path of
Correct.
spirituality. I don't know if you met or saw people like this.
Not really. They would come to the house. I'd met them. I really wasn't, as I said to you already, I was never in awe of any person. Once it's a person, then I want to know what is the pattern. Give me the tariqah. Give me the right. I don't want persons. I never took to personalities. And my own parents and relatives and so on never insisted on that. So follow the correct conduct. Earlier on, obviously, as a child, one has to. Also, I learned a lot from women. Some of them were Bedouin Arab women who come to the house for a month or a few weeks to help and work. And it was a big household. I mean, probably on average, there would be 30, 40 people every day, but there were 5 or 6 houses all adjacent. And there would be ways of getting from one to the other through the roof, from down, from Sardab. So I grew up like that. There were lots of cats, lots of creatures. Occasionally there would be few ghazlan brought from the desert for the house, poor creatures, because they would go to the roof and they jump. So no, it was an extended family of correctness. I would have never ever imagined myself shouting to a servant or saying something incorrect to anybody. So that was the madrasa.
Great madrasa and full of nature and the traditional life and then.
Absolutely. And then the shock of the West.
Now I'll ask you here about it. So you're living within a certain community, society, culture, religion, which is limited. So whatever, it was good, correct, and pure, as you mentioned. But then you were attracted to Hinduism, through which the metaphysical, mystical dimensions of Islam were open to you through this mirror of Hinduism. And so you rediscovered the integral Islamic tradition again. And I think there is a person that is mentioned in your life. His name is Chinmaya, an Indian spiritual master.
Correct.
Who influenced you. So you may like to talk a bit about this issue and how come you're open to a different religion, different philosophy, and then combine.
Obviously my main influence was a father who was also the spiritual master. And then I discovered Chinmaya having almost the same qualities, but from a different formal background, But I found in the Vedantas great reflections of the Quran. And I came to know that there were few people, great Muslims in India, who did that comparison between the Vedas and the Quran. And I was privileged to see that and enjoy it also. Then I began to really realize that the essence, the origin of all of the great religions, world religions, is the same. In that there is this cosmic mastery with different names, God, Allah, this, that, and a process of earthly creature evolving towards its origin, which is cosmic light. So I really found all of them trying the same thing, but it is later the practitioners make it into a business, make it into a closed shop, make it into you can't embrace it unless you are born in it, and so on and so on. This is a human tendency, a human interference. And I was never, whenever I looked at any of these things, I found the origin is the same. That you have to conduct yourself properly, otherwise there are many barriers between you and the light that has given you life. So the issue of conduct is necessary for that. God doesn't need that. It is for your sake. If you really want to be in the present moment, fully charged by it, alive by it, then you have to be accountable for any thought, any action, any intention. That's it. So you have nothing to hide. You have nothing. It's all clear. Your mind is clear. Your heart is pure. So don't deny the emotion. You like to have this meal, enjoy it. All right. For a minute or two, you also may act even very stupidly. The speed in which you have eaten, the way, fine. But it changes, it's gone. You're no longer. So yes, of course, I did it in a silly way. Allah is all forgiving. Please forgive me also. Khalas.
I also recall from the Sirah and life of Allama Tabatabai that he was reading and explaining from one of the volumes of the Upanishad, and then he was mentioning that I find some of the deep Quranic and Irfani topics and knowledge inside this Upanishad also, and I can.
Sure. There was something touched me immensely. It was in the Bhagavad Gita, between the teacher and the pupil. And the pupil is asking, how can I be loved by God more? So there is the equivalent of about 1 page, which I have had many copies of it made. How can I be loved by God? The answer comes, if you are the same when you are loved and admired, you feel in your heart the same as when you are despised and rejected, then you are beloved to God. And if you do this, you are beloved to God. If you give that which you want to keep for yourself, give it away to others who are in need of it, you are beloved to God. You are beloved. I found in that almost the profile of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, honestly. So the origin is the same. The source is one. The original nur is one. Beyond the mind to comprehend. Accept it. That's all what it is.
Great.
Don't denounce the mind. Don't denounce dunya. Watch out for it not to take over your heart. Enjoy it. This lovely house. Enjoy it. Beautiful food. Enjoy it. But move on.
Sheikh, I had a question because I saw one of your books is a translation of this book, Misbah al-Sharia, which is mansub ila al-Imam al-Sadiq. And there is always this question regarding this book or many other ahadith or riwayat, because they say it's all da'if, it's all mursal, it's all, especially some of the sayings, الشريعة أقوالي وطريقة أحوالي والحقيقة أفعالي وطريقة والحقيقة أحوالي.
Yes.
And many other sayings of Sufi or Irfani or many deep sayings in Islam, they say that it's not musnada. And that, so you can talk about it as a universal wisdom, as a wisdom of great philosophers, great masters throughout the history, but you can't link it to Quran, Islam, and Ahl al-Bayt. But then we see some of the great sayings that is mansuba ila Ahl al-Bayt. So how come? So you are sure and certain that such knowledge can't be,
Not really.
can't come only from them? Or...
We can't be certain, Baba. We can't be certain. These are natural tendencies in us. If I had a teacher and I found his teaching really fulfilled me, and something comes in you, I say, oh, this could have been also from my teacher. It's like that. It is. And it doesn't matter. I don't think, we have been trained in the last few decades of trying to be precise. And we are losing the joyfulness of life precisely. also. I really don't know. This is what some people said, it's attributed fine. I accept. It benefited me. Good. The rest is exactly, when did he say it? Was he ill? Was he not ill? Did he cough in between? Did he raise his eyebrow? Also bear in mind that the issue is very much by people who had the advantage of being ummis. They didn't precisely write it with this. They were ummis, they were that means they were not structured or they had formal tuition or teaching. They were people of haqq. I said that last night, not now. What is the context? He said it so, but what was the context? Was it, were they few select people? Was it public? Was it every human being or what? So these are the things I were concerned about. Not so much was it precisely said by him or not as much. What was the context? If it was for very few individuals, Hamili Sirri Rasulullah, because nobody could understand it. So he would be quiet. It's the context which is very important.
So does it has a wisdom? Does it has secrets? Does it has beneficial knowledge? So then we can understand.
Correct. Rahmatan al-Alameen, is it public? Is it for everyone? That's fine. That's okay. The universality, I think, of our deen needs to be made more and more on top. Universality. We made it local. That's why you said earlier, more sex. It will continue even more because of that. And as you said, there are as many ways to God as there are breaths. As long as they are correct, as long as they maintain correct boundaries, accountability, humanity to be respected, then it's fine. Slightly different this and so slightly different that.
Sheikh, here also an interesting question. So what is the real relation and connection between the A'immas of Ahlul Bayt, starting with Imam Ali and reaching to Imam Zayn al-Abidin and all the 12 Imams, and to Sufi and Irfani knowledge in Islam? Because later on we have different tariqas and different Sufi masters until we reach to Ibn Arabi and his schools and his followers. And then we have the poets, Rumi, Mu'attar, and all these poets, and from the Arabic poets, Ibn al-Farid, al-Hallaj, al-Rabi'a, all these. And then there is this question, so what was the connection with Ahl al-Bayt? Or these are different Sufi schools with the different madhahib, but then A'immat Ahl al-Bayt are limited to a certain madhab, maybe Tashayyu', but they are not for other. So why in the modern era, I don't know, maybe also before, like Rumi and Ibn Arabi and Ibn al-Farid and maybe al-Junayd are personalities that now they are presented for humanity and for Muslim people, more than Muslim people also. But maybe until now we couldn't present Imam Ali or Imam Sajjad or Imam Sadiq as Muslims, as Muslim scholars, as a human personalities that go beyond the boundaries of madhahib and all these very limited understandings.
Look at a river where it comes from the mountain and melting snow or rain and this and that, and then see how it ends up in a delta. So the issue of madhahib, it is the deltas. That's all. There are hundreds of semi, if you like, or you wouldn't call it a madhab, you wouldn't call it it is a slight change. What about the Durzis? They were isolated. He discovered few things, and then he found a revival from a Hindu. It becomes a Durzi. And on and on and on. It's not, they are different flavors. It's the same thing now as millions of people traveling in the world in order to enjoy street food because of a different flavor. And the old man or the woman suddenly pinches some special herbs and puts it on it. And he says, oh my God. Different, the same thing. All of it is trying to say that you, I, he, she, we are all in a field of uncertainty, seeking certainty. The more you seek certainty, the more you find there are greater uncertainties. The same thing as you talk about tree of life, talk about the tree of uncertainty. And its fruit entices you towards certainty. But there's nothing certain. Because this is the tree of uncertainty. Life of uncertainty. Sure, absolutely insured and double insured and treble insured. And then you're hanging on air. And then you end up having a lot of money, a lot of this, and everybody around you is suspect. And you say, oh, how terrible. You're terrible. Your intention is terrible. Be certain about the timelessness and the eternal nature of the ruh, of that which gives you life. Everything else is uncertain and changing. How wonderful. As I said, the ultimate test in terms of discipline is to have a clear mind, pure heart, no anger, no rancor, no hatred, no. And the other one is willingness cheerfully to leave your body and mind as a ruh. This is what is needed now, not going back more and more into the past and into what they said and what Ibn Arabi said. It's not going to make me happy. I want to be content now, and that now is not going to be disturbed by a bit of this up or that down. I want to have constancy, which is closer to the essence of the Nur.
Maybe you can elaborate more also, Sheikh, related to the idea of الإنسان الكامل and الحقيقة المحمدية, the tree of the الحقيقة المحمدية, because all the prophets and awliya and great people and great souls are manifestations of this soul, and they are spread among all societies and cultures and places, trying to connect people towards the soul and towards God. So we have this beauty that centralized on the حقيقة المحمدية and is spread all over the places. So like Rahma lil Alameen, so all different philosophers, prophets and awliya that we find, they centralize to the same trees. Can we say like this also?
Difficult. I myself find going back to the past problematic. It's good if you want to have a PhD. That's fine. More than that, I really find it can cause quite a lot of enjoyable, maybe, distractions. Insan al-Kamil, how can he be Kamil? How can an insan be Kamil? It's impossible. Insan is the moon of the Shams, which is Rayhan, which is the Ruh. So how can the insan, which is the moon, become? That means complete your discipline, your loyalty, your honesty, your ibadah. Disappear in it. This is good. That is, you've done your best as an insan.
No, not we insan. So I mean the insan like prophets and the great saints of God. So they're kamil in a. They're
but
not
he also said, the Quran says, "Qul innama ana basharun mithlukum." Anyway, I don't want to go back to the. I have not benefited a lot from going back to the past.
Because all people are evolving.
Real benefit is in the moment.
التكامل عملية مستمرة يومين for every person. كل إنسان يتكامل.
The rest is a lot of academic, a lot of discourse, a lot of discussion, a lot of philosophy, because there is a lot of food. People have time, so they want to talk a lot. So you end up having 11 PhDs. Not a bad thing either. But it is not going to give that intense, immense, rich moment.
Very great, Sheikh, and thank you for your time and the knowledge and the experience you shared and about finding the self and finding the spirit and reaching towards God. As they say, ليس في الدار غيره ديار. So if you have a final statement that you want to conclude our conversation with, please do.
I enjoyed talking to you. I feel and detect and experience courtesy, focus, honesty, and good energy. All what I want to end with is to share with you that all of us as human beings, especially at this juncture in time, with the connectedness in the world, we need two major things. One, reasonable quality of life, basics, not excess luxuries, basics, shelter, food, clothes, basics. And there are still few billions of people deprived of that. And there are few millions who have excess. This is out of balance. This is unjust, unacceptable. Now, basics in the dunya, we have to accept it. We're all animals evolved over billions of years. We all want the same thing. A bit of kindness, a bit of love, a bit of security, sleep well, get up well, some clothes, a bit of respect. Why respect? Because of the other side, the Ruh is Rabbani. If you respect all life, then you are on the path of respecting appropriately the creator of life. So it is respect for life. Life comes from the life giver, is the manifestation of Haqq. So as human, I have to respect humanity. I have to behave as a human. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. But the other one, يُوحَى إِلَيْهِ, you ruh. Now, the other side, if you taste it, that it is not subject to space or time, then nur ala nur, then you know that this journey on earth is for you to participate in completing the story. What is the story? The presence of the divine glory in you, the Ruh in you, eternal, boundless. That's all. And then you may work, you may do, you may write, you may not. It doesn't matter. You have then completed أكملت الطريق. This is the nearest you can call إنسان كامل. إنسان is deficient. الإنسان حيوان مهذب at best. But كمله بنور الكمال اللي في قلبه. خلاص. So going back is problematic.
أدبني ربي فأحسن تأديبي.
خلاص. It's a different culture you're in, different time. You can't go all the time back. You have to, it's a different ambience, different this. Times have changed, as I said earlier. We have to realize evolution. Today is not the same as 5 years ago. You have to realize that. Otherwise, with all the time going back 5,000 years ago, it gives the illusion of respectability because of 5,000 years. What about eternity? The Ruh is eternal. We have to get out of this straitjacket.
Sheikh, I had a question about your interesting journey of traveling. So from Karbala then to the West, UK, and then to the United States. But how come you came back to the South Africa? So what happened that you chose South Africa?
Hira. All of it is Hira. Now, I was looking for a place that suited my state in life. If I was in business, I would like to be in New York or London. If I was already 30 years ago in a state in my life, I wasn't hankering after this, that, or a career, or a profile, or a dunya. So I wanted to be somewhere where the people are decent, quiet. And I looked for places like, I loved Sri Lanka, beaches there, the coconuts. Elsewhere than Pakistan, it couldn't be. So eventually, when Nelson Mandela was about to be released from prison, I came on a tour. And I thought this is suitable for me, not for others. And there were enough schools for the children and others, and good medical services here. So it was really by search and making mistakes. So I ended up here, if you like, by a bit of effort, by Allah's rahmah. And here I am in a wonderful area where the climate is good. We have wonderful quality water, our own wells, no chlorine. So I am in Jannah. Really, that's it. It's Allah's rahmah with some effort from me. Grace upon grace upon grace.